Today we're going to show you how to install the Fluidmaster EasyFit Ultra Syphon. So the EasyFit Ultra Syphon is designed for close coupled ceramic cisterns with a top action button in the lid with a 40mm round hole in the top. You will need the EasyFit Ultra Syphon and button, the information sticker and a pair of gloves. You may also need a flathead screwdriver, snips and some pipe cutters. We suggest you check the performance of your pan prior to installation. If the flush is weak or inconsistent, we do not recommend installing this product. Okay, so first things first, what we need to do is isolate the water supply to the cistern, so we need to turn that off. Put some gloves on, which we recommend you wear throughout the process, and we need to flush and empty the cistern. So now we've done that, we can take the lid off. In this case, we've connected with a cable, so we just disconnect that. We put the lid to one side. So now we need to visually assess to make sure the siphon is going to fit. So first of all, we'll undo the clip and take the down leg off, put the down leg to one side, and then we need to put the siphon in front of the cistern, holding it up above the bottom of the cistern like that, making sure we've got room above and below, so it'll fit that way, and we've got plenty of room left to right that way. We'll flip it over. We want to check the mechanism doesn't clash with the fill valve, so we put the down leg over the centre. The mechanism is not clashing with the fill valve, it's not clashing with the side of the wall. We can look down and we can see that the bell housing is going to be clear at the bottom of the cistern wall as well. Okay, so now we're going to remove the flush valve from the basket. This one's just a simple bayonet fitting, so we can remove that and expose the basket in the bottom of the cistern. So now we need to remove the basket from the cistern. In this case we have an overflow tube on it, so we can use that to grab hold of for a bit of leverage, just to try and undo this anti-clockwise to get that moving, and there we can see we've now loosened that up. With this tube obviously we can't remove that, so we're going to have to cut that off, which I'll show you in a second. If you don't have this tube, then you should be able to just undo that basket all the way out. You may need a tool just to help you with a bit of leverage, just to get that going. We know now we've got this loose, so I'm going to just turn that back and get my pipe cutters in, drop them all the way down to the bottom of this, and then we can ratchet these pipe cutters and take the overflow tube off, like so. Then we can grab hold of the basket and undo it. And take the basket out. So we take our down tube, we remove the quick fit adapter off the thread like that. In most cases, when you remove your basket, you're likely to find that this thread you removed is much bigger than the one that we're putting in. So you'll find that you will need this adapter. We're going to take our adapter seal. In this instance, where we have a larger thread, we will need both the nut and the seal. So we've got two flats of the nut, which we're going to feed through there. I'm going to hold the nut with my thumb and forefinger, and I'm going to rest this pointy edge on the edge of the cistern and feed those flats down through the hole by stretching these legs down a bit, like so. So I'll rest the seal on the edge like that, and then I'm pushing the seal, the nut through the hole like that, and then we can see that that is nice and springy and loose, and the seal is nice and flat on the bottom of the cistern. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, we've got this clear cistern attached to a toilet. I'm just going to show you now holding the adapter nut between thumb and forefinger and resting the seal on the edge of the cistern. We can feed the flats through the nut. Make sure the seal is located in that hole. It's nice and flat, secure, and the nut is free to move. If you find that the basket you've removed has got the same size thread as the one we're putting in, then the likelihood is the nut sizes are going to be the same, and the thread from one is going to fit the other. In this instance, then, all we have to do is remove the seal from the nut. We take a pair of cutters and we just snip off the legs, and then we can fit this into the cistern as we've done before and install the down tube. So now we're going to fit the down tube into the cistern. We need to make sure when we've tightened this in that we've got the right alignment. So in this case, we have this red clip that's at the front of the system when this is correctly aligned. So when we put the siphon into the system, we can see that the bell housing is in the clear space and it's not interfering with the fill valve. So we'll tighten this in and dropping that through the hole. So now we're going to fit the down tube. We need to make sure that the slip ring is fitted and installed, as this will help with our tightening and install. So what we're going to do is push this down through the seal, lightly on top of the nut below, and we can feel the elastic. So I'm just putting a little bit of pressure on that, and we turn it anti-clockwise until we hear a click. There's the click, that's our thread start indicator. Then we can just slowly wind this in by hand until it's nice and tight. So I'm tightening this in, that feels nice and tight, but we can see there now I'm orientated the wrong way, as I need this clip to be on this side. So rather than undoing it, what I'm going to do is now tighten this up to make sure that we always maintain a seal. We don't want to undo it because we don't want to loosen the seal. And that's in nice and tight and solid. Okay, so now we want to install the siphon. So what we're going to do is align this square hole and this rack with the square peg and the slot for the clip. So what we'll do is open the clip, and we'll feed the siphon in by tipping it backwards, feeding that down the down leg. The square hole will go over. We can push that down, and we want to make sure that the bell housing is around 25 mil off the bottom of the cistern before we lock it into place. Now turn the water back on. Now the cistern has refilled, the fill valve would have filled back to its original position. We might need to have some minor adjustment on that. On the siphon we have a max water level here, which coincides with just underneath this bracket on this side. So when we're looking down in the cistern, we can see where the water level is, it's just below this bracket here at the front of the cistern, so we know the water level is correct. That's okay, now we need to replace the button. So we're going to take the old one off. This one's just a simple screw. Other buttons may differ from this. So what we're going to do is get our new button, rest it on top of the mechanism like this, drop the lid on the top like so, and what we want to do is cut this rod level with the top of the cistern lid. So if I just gently hold that in place, I'm going to snip that in that position there. I'm going to take the rubber bung off the bit we've just cut off, put that on there, undo the nut, tighten the button into place, drop the lid back on and see how much play we've got in this button. That's too much play. We've got adjustment with this screw, so we can unscrew that in or out to increase or decrease that length, lock it back into place, and we put the button back on. We can check we've got a small amount of play. I'm still not happy with the amount of play we've got with this button, so we need to adjust this. Okay, so when we're setting the button length and we're looking for this little bit of play in the button, we need the gap between the end of the rod and the mechanism. If the rod is too long, we're holding the mechanism down, which is breaking the seal, which will give us a false flush. If the rod isn't close enough, then it's effectively not pushing the mechanism far enough, and that will impede our flush as well. So this is critical that that distance between the end of the rod and the mechanism is no more or less than as shown here. Okay, so we've adjusted this button to where we need it to be, and we're happy with that distance and the movement that we've got with that, and we should be good to flush. So now we've completed the installation of the EasyFit Ultra Syphon. As you can see, we've only got a single button here. This is a dual flush valve, so to get the full flush, we have to press and release all the way down, like so. And for the part flush, we're going to press and hold until the flush is stopped, like so. Okay, and finally we have this label that we need to stick in a close vicinity of the button so that it informs the end user how to operate the full flush and the part flush for the siphon.